Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, and the Lord of the worlds. I am Sadia Kuyum once again, your social science teacher in Government High School Hanga Mawa. I hope you all are well, and may God shower you his blessings of love and lead you always to a right path. Today we will discuss the chapter 8 of social science, namely rural livelihoods. In this chapter, you will find various ways in which people earn their living in villages. Also, examine whether people have equal opportunities to earn a living. You can also go on to find similarities in their life situations and the problems that they face. Let us start. First of all, it is important to understand the life in a city is much different from the life in a rural area. In the rural area, you have agriculture as a predominant activity. However, in urban area, either manufacturing or services that form the major part of the economic activity. Now we talk about the primary, secondary and tertiary economic activities. So primary activities which are related to agriculture and like fields. Secondary activities are related to manufacturing, and tertiary activities are related to the service sector. As we know that secondary and tertiary activities form the urban lifestyle, while as agriculture predominantly forms the rural area. Now, this agriculture, however, is not able to give a kind of full employment or a full-time employment, because let us assume these are the various months you have a crop where you are preparing the saplings in the month of June. Then you are transplanting the crop in the month of August. You are weeding it out in October and finally harvesting it in December. So what happens? You have employment during these months when you are either weeding, harvesting or preparing the saplings. However, the other 6 months are the lean months. So during the other 6 months, what would happen? You would either be engaged in some other activity in the urban area. So the farmer would move out from the rural area to the urban area to get some job for 6 months and came back to the farm when required. So that would be one way that he could sustain. The other way could be in the village itself. He finds out certain areas. Let us say he is working with some type of quarry or working with some mining activity that is associated, or stone quarrying that is occurring in his or her nearby area. So those are some kind of seasonal employments that a laborer can get. Now laborer themselves can be of various types. So there could be 3 types of agricultural holding. We can say the one is agricultural laborer. These laborers can be in the form of landless laborers who do not have their own land. They do not have anything of their own. They work on other farms and get a daily wage of 20 rupees or 40 rupees a day. On the other hand, you have person with small plots, and finally you have kind of person with big land plots. We know that 20% of the Indian farmers hold big holdings of land, so they do not have good equipments that they could bring in for the farms, because only 20% of farmers in India can bring equipments because they have a huge holding of land. If for example I am bringing a tractor, I should have at least acres of land to run that tractor, and big holdings of land is needed. Now there are other farmers which are small farmers. For example, a smaller landholder, a farmer has children. What would happen when this farmer would get older? There could be two ways of working around. One way is that the farmer maintains his piece of land and asks all the four children work on the same land. The other way could be he could divide this piece of land among his four children, so each of the children will get his own piece of land. Now what will happen here? The size of land will further decrease here, so there is no need of using big kind of instruments or equipments in this type of land. This small farm is only good for subsistential agriculture. It is a type of agriculture that can sustain your family, or it is a kind of very meager production that helps to satisfy your family demands only. So that is one option. The other option could be a consolidation back of these holdings, as has occurred in China's Soviet Union, where these small land portions are called as commune. In this, what happens? The government takes up all the land and consolidates it back into a single unit. Now this single unit is further segregated among the holders of the land. However, the land parcels remain intact with a big parcel. That means you can bring in better equipments which could work better as compared to smaller land holdings. But in reality, what is happening in India? Big farmers are occupied by only 20% of the farmers, while as 80% of the farmers in India have smaller plots, and those smaller plots are further getting smaller and smaller. In this chapter, we have a case study of the Kalpattu village. Kalpattu village is close to the sea coast in Tamil Nadu. People here do many kinds of work. Here too has non-farm work such as making baskets, utensils, pots, bricks, blockouts. There are people who provide services such as blacksmiths, nurses, teachers, etc. There are also some shopkeepers and traders. In the main street, you will find a variety of small shops such as tea shops, grocery shops, etc. The village is surrounded by low hills. Paddy is the main crop that is grown in irrigated lands. Most of the families earn or living through agriculture. Poor families in rural areas collect firewood, get water, and graze their cattle. They do not earn any money from these activities, and they do them for the household needs or requirements. Now, as I said, 2/3 of land production is done by agricultural laborers, most of which are landless laborers. That means they do not have their own land. So what is the economic status going on in the rural areas? So let us assume that I am having a piece of land. I am cropping certain trees. Most of them I am using it for myself because of the small portion of land. A few of that remain. I sell that in the market. From selling, I get some money, and this money is invested back in the form of seeds, fertilizers, etc. This is for the small holdings. What would occur for the big holdings? For the big farmers, when they sell, they get more money. So when they get more money, they could invest this money. Once they are in a position to invest, where they would invest as a kind of asset. For they would bring in tractors, machinery, equipments for the farms. They are generating more income. Since they are generating more income, and they are investing more. When they are investing more, they are getting more and more returns. So and so becomes a cycle. It is a kind of vicious cycle that goes on, in which the rich farmer gets richer. However, in the case of a poor farmer, if there is no good crop, what would happen? He would have to borrow money for seeds and fertilizers. But if the seeds are not of good quality, or there can be a crop failure due to monsoon, which further results no selling of the crops, and they are unable to pay back their loans, and for the family to survive, they may even have to borrow more money. So the poor farmer tends to become more poorer in this vicious cycle. So in this case, it can lead to distress, and further extremities can lead to suicide. So this is common in the forms of Odessa, where you have often on news of farmer suicide due to either of droughts or of famines that occur in that regions. Now the things are changing, because people are now borrowing money from government agencies which charge low rate of borrowing. However, with the coming up of government institutions in the rural areas, the rate of borrowing has decreased. You have to pay nearly 4 to 5% at the end of the day. So that how the economy is worth. This becomes a prime focus in the political science, because with this we try to understand how things go on. Again, one of the case study that has been mentioned is important here, that is terrace farming in Naga land. The study is about the Chizami village. The people of this village do terrace cultivation. This means that the land on a hill slope is made into flat plots and carved out in steps. The sides of each plot are raised in order to retain water. This allows water to stand in the field, which is best for rice cultivation. The people of Shizami have their own individual fields, but they also work collectively in each other's fields. They form groups of 6 or 8 and take an entire mountain side to clean the weeds on it. Each group eats together once their work for the day is over. This goes on for several days until the work is completed. This kind of collective farming is getting more and more hold in India, and if there is consolidation of land, the rural livelihood can perform much better. A good example is the Amul cooperative in Anand. They work on the same principle. Nearly thousands of villagers are supplying to Amul, and finally getting cooperative chain that is seen, and every villager is benefiting from that. So these are some of the projects or consolidation efforts that could be run in the rural areas. Again, agriculture is a predominant activity in most of the villages. However, there are some villages which are non-farm villages where fishing is an economic activity. If it is a coastal area, you have animal husbandry and dairy. And these are some other activities that could be seen in the rural areas. With this, we cover the chapter 8 of pole science. Have a good day ahead.